Welcome to the class. We are going to be working on sections 10.4 and 10.5 that have to do with installment buying and how to work with mortgages. So this is the topic that we have. This is the homework that is assigned for these two sections, 10.4 and 10.5. Again, do your homework and send it to me via email. Either you can capture it with a cell phone or you can type it up and transmit it to me on a file via email. Some definitions. There are two types of installment loans: fixed installment and open-end installment. The fixed installment, basically a person will buy something and agrees to pay a given set of number of payments over a period of time. The other installment loan is the open-end installment. This is typically what credit cards can do. You can buy an item and you can pay it either at once or you can make payments regularly. So these are the two types of loans that you can have and agree to pay periodically. Now, of course, the financial institution will charge you what is called a finance charge. And that is the total amount of money that the person who borrows must pay for borrowing that money. And sometimes there are hidden fees. So when you are purchasing something, you need to read carefully what's in front of you so that you know exactly how much you're going to be charged. Remember that there are penalties, late penalties, and you have to be concerned about that. There is a definition that we need to know also: the annual percentage rate, also known as APR. And this is the true rate of interest that is charged for the loan. So these are definitions that we need to know as we continue to move forward in this section. We're going to do example number 1, fixed installment loan. You can find it on page 593. And please note that we need to use table 10.2 that is at the bottom of page 593. You have to become familiar with this table in order to solve this problem. So Christine wants to get some window blinds at a cost of $1,500. The finance options that you have from the store are no down payments and 6% APR for 24 months. The questions: A, determine the finance charge, and B, determine Christine monthly payments. So we are going to stage the problem as follows. For those who have the book, you will find that at the bottom of the page you have a table with a number of payments. The payments, they're run down like this. And then you have the annual percentage rate, and that is running like that, and you get something like a 4%, 5%, and so on. And so in this part of the problem, we know that it's 6% that this person is getting the APLAN rate, and the number of payments will be starting from 6, 12, 18, and so forth, until you hit 24 right here. And then you need to intersect these two lines. Wherever they intersect, that will be the rate, the financial per $100. This is important. So for 24, we've got the 24 payments at 6%. On the table, you'll see something like 6.37. And the finance charge, this is something that you will find here on the table. It says finance charge is per $100. This is important that you understand how to read this table. Number of payments, APR, and then intersect the point. This is a multiplier per $100. So you need to know how to do that. We already found this point. Now we need to calculate the number of payments. Now the number of payments, we know that she borrowed $1,500. So we want to divide this into 100s, right? Because our table comes into 100, so there will be 15 payments. Now, in order to find the total finance charge, we need to multiply 637 that we got from the table times the number of payments, and this will result in 95.55. So this is what Kristen is going to be paying for the charge. Now, what are going to be the part B? The monthly payments. We need to know the monthly payments. So we know that in total she will pay total is going to be equal to the original amount, 15,000, plus the charge, 95.55. So that's the finance charge plus the cost that she needs to pay. So if we add this total, this will be equal to 1595.55. Now we need to divide this for a monthly payment. We need to divide this number by the total number of months. That will give you your monthly payment, and that is going to be about 66.48 cents. So this means that Christine will have 24 monthly payments of 66.48 cents. This is the way to solve this problem. Let's go over again what is that we need to do. So let's go over again. Christine wants to get some window blinds at a cost of $1,500. Her finance rate is 6% APR for 24 months. Question A, determine the finance charge. Right, this means money, the cost. And then we need to determine the monthly payments. So remember, we have to use table 10.2 at the bottom of page 593. And make sure that you practice this problem carefully. And at the table at the bottom, you will find a table such as this. For copyright purposes and reasons, I'm not using the book itself. I have to add permission to the author to be able to do that, or the publisher. And to avoid that, we are going to use this, it's the same thing, representing what's on the table here. And so 24 months, right? These are number of payments in terms of months here. And the percentage is 6%, so we intersect these two points here, and we read this number 6.37. This is a multiplier that we use as we continue to solve the problem. The number in the table is the number of payments is per $100, so we have 15 payments, right? So you divide the total amount of the money that is being borrowed by 100, so you get the number of payments instead of 100 payments. But the table is given in terms of 100 per $100 finance charge. To find the total finance charge, we multiply the number from the table. We obtain this from table, then the 2, and then times the number of payments. Okay, that's 15, and this is the finance charge. Moving on. So the monthly payments, you have to add the finance charge. This is the finance charge. Right, you add this number to the amount that the blind costs, 1,500, so that's the total. Now you divide that by the number of months, right? These are months. So you get that the payment will be $66 each month, but Christine will be paying 24 months payments of $66.48. Thanks. We can use a formula to solve the previous problem that we did in example 1, installment payment formula. When using a formula, as we've done before, we need to understand what each variable means. M represents the installment payment. P is the amount financed, right? That's the amount financed, that would be money right there. the rate, APR, right? And that's given in percentage. Then you have the number of payments. And the last thing that we need to know is the time is in years. If we remember, the amount was 1,500 for the window blinds. The rate was 6% APR. And it was for 24 months. So if we want to use the formula to solve this, this is example 2, page 594. So we have to use this formula right here. That's the formula that we need to use. We're going to use the calculator to solve this problem that we encounter in example number 2. But we're going to spend some time using the calculator. So we multiply 1,500 times 0.06 divided by 12. So here we have a 0.06 divided by 12. That's equal to, it will be 1,500 times 0.005. And the next thing that we need to do is, down here is 1 minus, we already know that this number is the same as this one, so this will be 1 plus 0.005. And this number has to be multiplied times minus 24. So what is that equal to? It will be 1,500 times 0.005, enter. So we get 7.5 here, and all this is divided by, clear. This one here basically is 1 minus 1.005 to the minus 24th. So what that is equal to. So what we need to do in this case is, if you remember, when you have a quantity raised to a negative number, basically it is the same as the quantity 1 divided over. So what we need to do here is basically do this. We put 1.005 raised to the 24th power, enter. That will give you this number, but that's positive number, so we need to take the inverse of that number to represent the minus 24th. So you have to locate in the calculator the sign for that, and that will give you the answer of 0. So this will be 1 minus 0.88771. And when you do this calculation again here, you get 7.5 divided by, then we'll subtract 1 from here. So let's do this here, 1 minus 0.8871, enter, and that will give you 0.1129, and this is an approximation, and so now we can calculate this. So M the amount is approximately 7.5 divided by 0.1129, and this yields about 66.43, right? And these amounts are in dollars. Therefore, Christine's monthly payment is going to be $66.43. Moving along, we are going to do exercise number 3 on page 595, and the title of this exercise is determining APR. Now we have this person, Linus, trying to buy a new car for $19,441, and this price includes taxes and fees. And he turns in his car as a trade-in, and he gets $8,000 for it, and he will use this as a down payment. So basically, Linus is going to finance this new car with a balance of $11,481. Now, the place where he purchased this vehicle put him to pay a monthly payment of $344.11 for 36 months. So this is what he will be paying every month. So the question is to determine the finance charge, that's part A, and also to determine the APR that is going to be charged for this loan. So the finance charge could be found by adding the down payment, which is $8,000, plus the 36 months times the monthly payment. And this 36 times 344.11 give us 12,387.96. Then we add it to the 8,000. The total is 20,387.96. Now, this is the total price that he's paying for it. The final charge then is going to be this number minus the amount of the total cost of the car. So basically, the final charge is $906.96. What is the APR? In order to calculate this, we are going to need to use table 10.2. You have to go back to page 593. And the solution, we need to figure out what is the percentage of the finance charge to the amount financed. So the finance charge is 906.96 cents divided by 11,581 multiplied times 100, because in the table the quantities are given by 100. So when you run this through the calculator, this becomes approximately 0.789, and then you multiply this times 100, and that is roughly this is roughly, basically here what you need to do is move the decimal point 1, 2 points, right? So you move it, the decimal point is here, for example, so you move it 1 place, 2 places, so the answer will be 79. This is the number that you are getting in terms of the ratio multiplied times 100. And this basically, you have to go back to the table and see where these numbers appear for 36 months. And let's go to the table. So here we have our table. If you remember, over here you have the number of payments, and over here is the percentage, and the quantity is per $100. And so we locate 36, we locate at the number of 36, right? That's the number of months, and then we locate 7.9, we find it, and that corresponds to 5%. So this is our APR. So therefore, the APR for question B is 5%. So this is answer B. So basically, this is what you need to do for this topic. We're continuing with section 10.5, buying a home with a mortgage. When people do not have enough money to buy something like a house, cash, they have to find ways to accumulate some money so that they can have a down payment, and also the financial institution charges some fees. They call them points. So when you prepare to buy a house, you raise the money, you locate the house, and then you try to stay within your budget so that you can afford different situations, an apartment, a house, a condo, whatever it may be. You have to be aware that there are loans that are fixed loans. They have a fixed rate. There are variable or adjustable loans. You have to find the best that is suited for you. So in this section, we are going to go over some examples as to what it takes to buy a house, and there are some very specific examples that show you, how these calculations are made. Also, we have to use tables and also a formula, so we have to pay special attention to all those things. Before we continue with the material, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you do. I know that we are adjusting to the new technology as we embark in this distant learning. It is something that we did not ask for. It was a situation that occurred. I hope that you're doing well in terms of the crisis that is going on. Follow the guidance of your health people, public health organizations, and we should be fine. Hopefully the course will move slowly, but for surely we are going to be moving along, and I'll suggest that you stay on top of the material. Remember to do your homework. That's the only way that you can know if you have mastered this material. And I will continue to provide video clips, put them on YouTube so that you can view them at any time. I will not remove them, so you have it for you to review the material from time to time. Please send me feedback. I know that the technology sometimes is not the best. That is what we could have at this time, and consider the situation that we were put in this like right away, and we did the best that we could. So I would like to give you a big thanks for that reason, because you're doing some extra work. Thanks. Let's continue with the work. Let's continue with the class with the topic of mortgages. And here we are going to cover example number 1, page 608 in the textbook. And this is conventional loans. We have a family, the Mertens. They're going to buy a house for $249,000. And the bank requires 15% down payment and a payment of 2 points, right, to the bank. And this basically is our fees, and they're worth at 1%. So the first example asks us, determine the down payment, B, determine the amount of the mortgage, and C, determine the cost of the 2 points. This is the first way of introducing how to work with mortgages. We have a solution here. The down payment is 15% of the amount for the mortgage, $249,000. Now, to calculate the down payment, basically you do 15%, and you know, like 15 over 100 will give you the decimal form multiplied by the 249,000, and that results in 37,350. Okay, so that's the way you calculate the down payment. Now the mortgage, the actual mortgage is going to be the selling of the house, which is 249,000, minus the down payment. So basically you end up with a mortgage of $211,750. Now that would be the mortgage that this family is going to take on. Each point is equal to 1%, so we have basically they're asking for 2 points to pay to the bank. So 2% of this amount results in $4,233. So this is the way you calculate these three answers, and that's part of the example that we have there. Now we're going to continue with this example number 1. However, this, whatever follows here, is not in the book. But it's very important that you know this. It's part of the calculations that you have to do when working with mortgages. And so we have a continuation of the previous example, but now we're saying that the mortgage is going to be taken at the rate of 8%. So we have question, what is the monthly payment, right, if the loan is taken for 30 years? So here we have part A. The number of payment will be the number of months that you're going to pay times the number of years, so you get 360 payments, right? Now to calculate the monthly payment, we need to use table 10.4, and you can find that on page 610, right? That will be part B. And then the last question here will be, what is the interest paid for that loan? Now using table 10.4, you will find it in the book. And in this case, what you need to do is you are going to locate the number of years, right? That will be at the top of the table, and also realize that this table is given as the monthly principal plus interest per $1,000 of the mortgage. So this is really crucial here. When you use the table, you have to know what the factors are that you need to be considering before you do the calculations. So this table, you can find it on page 610. Okay, so on this side you have the rate, right? And on this side here you have the years. Right, they're moving that way. And in our example, they're going to take on the loan for 8%. So you intersect these two lines, and this one gives you 7.337. But then you round off for the calculation because when you do dealing with dollars and cents, it's easier to just use the calculation of, let's say, 7.337 334, right? If you were the bank, you like this number to go higher, but if you are the buyer, you want this number to go low when you run those numbers. Now the monthly payment, this one is calculated by having the mortgage that you acquire divided by 1,000. This has to do so that you can use the table. And then you multiply times the factor that you find on the table, right? And this is what we rounded off right here. This comes from the table. And when you do this calculation, this results in this monthly payment, right? 1,553 with 50.511. So you round it off in terms of cents. Like I said, the banks most likely will round it off higher. So basically, this will be your monthly payment. And that's the way you calculate the monthly payment. Remember, this is crucial here. The $1,000, you have to divide by $1,000. Now, what's the interest paid? To do that, we need to calculate the total payment, right? The number of payments times the monthly payment that you have. So you have, for this case that you have 30, you have 360 payments times the monthly payment of 1,553 and 52 cents, and that results in this amount, right? So for buying a house, you're going to be paying in total $559 to $167.20. Now, what's the interest? To calculate the interest, basically you take the total payment minus the mortgage, and this calculation will result in the amount that the family has to pay in order to get that loan. So this is the way you do those calculations. Now, if you don't want to use the table, there is a way to do it using a formula. The principal and interest payment, right? And this results in what you pay monthly. Now, you work already with formulas before. Be careful to understand what each parameter means, right? So the M is the principal and interest payments, and that's done the monthly, right? Every month, this is what you're going to be paying. This is the amount of, the P is the amount of the mortgage. The interest rate, remember, you have to turn it into a decimal. And again, I like to always remind you to do n over 100 when you calculate that. The number of payments per year, right? It will be 12 payments in a year. And the time, always remember, is in years. Okay. Let's move on to solve example number 1 using the mortgage formula. We have our formula here. M is equal to P multiplied by R divided by N. All this is divided by 1 minus this factor, 1 plus R divided by N, raised to the minus NT. Now, this is our principal. Move it out here. Multiplied by the rate divided by 12. As you know, we have to do A divided by 100, and then we get 0.08, and that's the value that we have here, right? That's the decimal form. Divided by 12. All this is divided by 1 minus this factor here, raised to the minus 12 times 30. When you do the calculations here, you get that 0.08 divided by 12 gives you 0.00666 and so on. And we'll divide all this by 1 minus this factor here. The number here is 1 plus this number, so we get this raised to the minus 360. I've been pointing out to you that when you calculate this number, this factor here, Basically, it is this factor raised to the minus 360. Do it in your calculator, raise it to a positive number, right? Exponential. When you get the results, right, then you do an inverse. And when you get the inverse, you'll get this number here, right? That's the inverse. And then you subtract 1 minus that, it will give you 0.908. And when we do this calculation here, we get 1553.97, right? So this is the calculation for the mortgage monthly payment using the formula. Remember when we did it with the factor, basically we got this number, so the difference is in some sense, right? So this is when we did it with the table, and this is when we did it with the formula. Be careful when you do these calculations. Double check your work, and like I said, become familiar with your calculator to be able to solve these kinds of problems. Moving along, it's always good to compare, the difference between buying a house on a 20-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage and so on. The idea is for you to get a comparison to see what the numbers tells you when you buy, like for example, the same product that we have been working on at 8% with this amount of money borrowed for the mortgage. And now to calculate and to compare the difference, we have in the 20 years, we have 240 payments, 12 times 20 years, 240 payments. When you do the 30 years, you have a 12 times 30, you have 360 payments. When you go back to the table and look at these numbers, you will look at for 8% for 20 years, the factor here that you get the multiplier is 8.36. Now you do this calculation and you get 1,769.394. Then you run down the numbers to that. And then here, we did this calculation before. This is from the table again. And then the number that we get for the payment for 30 years is 1533. You see this number here is higher than that, right? So this number is higher than this one. So you're paying more here every month. Now, the total number of payments you have for the 20 years, you have 240 times the mortgage, so you get a total of 424,656. It's the total payment. In comparison with the 30 years, you get this value here. You see here, this is a difference over 100,000 here. And then for the interest, we subtract the total payment minus the mortgage. So this is the interest that a family is paying when they go for 20 years versus when they use 30 years, you get this much that you pay in interest. This is 347,617.20. And if you take the difference, right, you will find that the difference is this amount, and this is the amount that basically if you take a 20-year loan, you save this amount versus a loan that you take for 30 years. This has been some useful information that is good for you to know. And remember, the more you learn about financial situation, the better you are going to be when you come to that moment where you need to execute on buying a mortgage, or when you are giving some advice to someone as to what is better, a 15-year mortgage, 20-year mortgage, 30-year mortgage. And so that's important to know. Thank you.